There was something else we did in linear regression. Yes, we did do VIF. That is also we called it as feature selection, feature elimination, where we are selecting only where we compared X versus X. We took only independent variables. They're like totally independent variables. Something else also we did, some other analysis. What was it? Do you remember it? We picked and choose the we pick and choose the variables based on VF. That's all right. There was something else. Can you tell me what was it that we did in linear regression? If you have variables x1, x2, and so on x20, in your case you have 7 or 8 variables. Do you think all of them are impactful on the target variable y? Do you think all of them are impactful? Is it the case every time you consider the variables that are there, all of them will be impactful? Can you give me guarantee like that? No, there is no guarantee that all the variables are impactful when you are working with a system y versus x1, x2, and so on xk. If you call that linear regression system, when you are building this model, there might be a case that not all variables are impactful, isn't it? X1, x2, and so on xk. Then what we did, we looked at a measure that will tell us a variable is impactful or not. There is a beautiful measure. There was a lot of theory behind it, but at the end of the day, it gives us one simple measure. What is that measure name? What is that simple metric that we will look at and tell whether the variable is impactful or not? What was it? Behind the scenes, there was something called some t-test that was done, but at the end of it, that will finally everything will be mixed and given as one value that is known as p-value. Based on the p-value, we decide. And what are the usual general business standard limits for picking and choosing the variables based on p-value, whether variable is impactful or not? How do you choose the variables? Which variables will you choose? Which variables will you drop? If it is less than 0.05, it is impactful, let's keep them. If it is greater than or equal to 0.05, they are not impactful, you can drop them. Have we really verified it? Are you convinced with that theory? Like, even if we do not understand theory, that's fine. But have you empirically verified it? Is this p-value really working? Have we checked it in linear regression where we dropped a variable that was shown as not impactful? Has it really worked? Do you remember what we did to check p-value? A variable that has more than 0.05 p-value, we dropped it. Then what happened? Tell me. If a variable is not impactful, when we drop it, what will happen? A variable is not impactful. I dropped it. What will happen to the model eventually in linear regression model? No, that's not the way to say. We cannot say r square and adjusted r square will be closer. No, that's not the way to say. A variable is not impactful and I dropped it from the model. What will happen? R square increases? No, that is wrong again. P-value decreases also wrong. No significant change in the R square is the right answer. If there is a variable that is not impactful, if a variable is not impactful, what do you mean by not impactful? Literally, it means that it is not at all impactful. Whether you keep it or whether you drop it, doesn't matter. In the exercise in the linear regression, what we discussed was, when we were discussing it, there was one variable whose p-value was 0.35 or 38 something. We kept this variable, we found the R square to be 95%. We dropped this variable and again we got the R square to be 95%. That's what we discussed, that R square has no significant change. That's why this variable is not impactful. We did one more exercise. One of the variable whose p-value is way less than 0.05, it was 0.000 something. Then what we did, we still dropped that variable just to verify. Before dropping, keeping that variable 95% was the R square value. After dropping a significantly impactful variable, what happened? Tell me. If you drop a variable that is impactful, drop an impactful variable, what will happen? If you drop a variable that is impactful from the model, what will happen to your R square? R square decreases. The R square decrease will be significant. More than 5% it will decrease. In fact, we have seen that example, r square has decreased significantly from 95%, it has dropped to 78%. So that is a story of the p-value that will tell us whether a variable is impactful or not impactful. So empirically also we have tested whether it will work or not. There is some theory also. At the end of the day, p-value will tell us whether a particular variable is having any impact on the target variable or not. Here also in logistic regression, there is a concept of p-value, y versus x1 and so on xk. Internally there was a different test which is called as z test that is done, which is similar to t test, but eventually that will give us the p-value only. Every test will give us a p-value only, and the interpretation of the p-value is also same. So even in logistic regression, you will have the variable x1, you will x2 and so on xk. Each variable will be giving you a p-value, and the limits are if the p-value is less than 0.05, keep such variables, they are impactful. If the p-value is greater than 0.05, drop such variables, they are not impactful. It is exactly same even in logistic regression linear. Maybe behind the scenes the calculation is different, but eventually you will have the p-value, you will have the p-value results for every variable, and you will be able to find out which variables are impactful, which variables are not impactful. You have 7 or 8 variables with you right now. Can you go back and tell me which of the variables are impactful, which variable is there a variable which is not impactful? Can you tell me that? Can you go back and check the p-value and tell me the variable that is not impactful? If it is one, if there is one, if every variable has less than 0.000 p-value, then we would say it is impactful, no problem. If it is having more than 0.05, then it is not impactful. So for that, we need to go back and build the stats models, because this has the summary. And in the summary, you will get the p-value for everything looks perfect. Income, monthly bill has a p-value of 0.307. Obviously it's not required. So next time when we are building the model, I will drop monthly bill from the model. So here monthly bill has been considered. We will drop it from the model and rebuild the model. That is it. This is the final model with only these variables. We dropped a variable by looking at its VAF value. We also dropped a variable by looking at its individual impact.